Hey.
Howdy. And you wanted to know my name and age?
Yes.
Good luck with that one. No.
What is your first name?
Daniel.
Daniel.
And 61, that would make me 58 or something like that, 57, all of them. Anyway, from
Okay.
1961, you do the math. I don't celebrate birthdays, so I don't keep track.
Oh, Daniel, where are we here?
You are in front of me,
Yeah.
and I am in front of you.
Yeah.
And we're in Lafayette Square. Oh, you already saw the White House in the background.
Oh,
Washington,
really?
D.C.
Yeah. So why are you here?
If I wasn't here, I'd be somewhere else. But I'm here with the, you saw the cleanhonestgov.com website earlier, trying to teach people what we are supposed to do to properly control the powers of our government. Something the people of this country have failed to do since about 1783 or so. And since Mr. Trump made several interesting campaign promises on that website, there are several constitutional executive orders that he could have done within the first 100 days of his administration and not had to deal with this whole mess of Congress that he's going through right now. But the billionaire doesn't usually like to come out here and mingle with the beggar sort and that sort of stuff to get his advice from somebody who knows how to help. But eventually, maybe with this, he'll see. And
So let's start with this. Who are you?
who am I?
Yeah.
I am the son of my father and my mother. After that, I am what I've made myself by my decisions. At present, I am homeless, if you consider Earth not one of those homes. Otherwise, I've just made planet Earth my home. And yes, the roof does leak from time to time.
So does it mean that you sleep in this park?
Yes, it does.
Even during the winter?
Even during the winter and the summer.
How is it?
Cold in the winter, hot in the summer. Pretty much. Other than that, it's like any other place on the planet that I've been. Well, not very far off the continent, but yeah.
How did you end up here?
Well, long story or short story?
In the middle?
Okay. Well, after I left Iowa, after graduating high school, went in the military, spent 4 years there, took a pledge to the Constitution against enemies foreign and domestic, had no clue what that meant. Nobody in the military was able to tell me. I didn't learn it in school, which means that was a wasted 13 years of school, K-12. So after that, I got married, got to New Hampshire, started a couple of years after that, I started studying the Constitution. And from about 1985 to 2006, it was constantly reading. And about 2006, it started clicking and things started making a lot more sense when I looked at the Declaration of the Constitution for the corporate documents that they actually are. From a 1756 definition, corporation is a body politic sharing a common seal, more than one head, perfectly describes our governments here in the United States. So when I looked at the Declaration as a corporate charter and the Constitution as the corporate bylaws, they started making an awful lot of sense because I filled out some of those documents in some of the businesses I've had in New Hampshire, S corporations and that sort of stuff. And as I did more studying, I started doing some writing, finished the rough draft of a book that I'm still trying to get published. I've had several names of it, but at present it's either self-governance and corruption-free government or clean, honest government, or something to that effect, and how we can get it. All the content, all the information is on the website. And when I ended up in Arizona, I was one of the 2008 U.S. presidential candidates, one of the nearly 400 that no one heard about, and campaigned in 35 states with a whopping budget of $16,000. Learned an awful lot about the people of this country and what we really need in this country, which was to be my campaign platform. And what we really need in this country is a thorough flushing of our education system and how we are supposed to, and filling that with how we are supposed to properly control the powers of our government. And then that kind of brings me around to having traveled another 5 or 6 additional states since 2016 to the present, and spending a couple of stays in some of the jails, Virginia Beach and Richmond and DC. And believe it or not, I can actually prove that I am not the criminal in those cases. Take, for instance, pedestrian on the highway in Richmond, the law that the state trooper was trying to enforce, had he actually read that to me, the entrance ramp that I went onto the highway was not posted with any types of prohibitions, which the law required to be conspicuously posted. No pedestrians, no bikes, no et cetera, and it wasn't posted. So I was not on the highway unlawfully. He didn't want to hear it, and he wasn't going to read the whole thing. My public defender got me 40 days in jail when she could have had me out within 6 hours of the meeting with me, simply by doing what I asked. Virginia Beach, sleeping in public. A law that the city passed that violates the Virginia Constitution and the U.S. Constitution because we have the right to sleep. The Virginia Constitution says that if it's not listed in the Virginia Article 1, Virginia Constitution Article 1, that it is off limits to the government to limit. So they limited it in the Virginia Beach by telling me where I could and could not sleep and when I could and could not sleep there. And it violates Amendment 9 of the U.S. Constitution, which basically says the same thing, that any right not listed in the Constitution is reserved to the people and is off limits. So I spent 5 months and 6 days in jail waiting for that speedy public trial, thanks to my public defender there, who could have had it thrown out within that day of having taken the case, and should have had it thrown out years before that because it was unconstitutional a long time before I got to Virginia Beach. And in D.C., I was arrested. The charge was failure to refuse or refusing to obey a lawful order. At the time, I was obeying that questionably lawful order, and assault of a police officer. Those were the charges against me. But the officer was the one who did the assault on me before he told me I was under arrest and go look for an honest cop in D.C. Couldn't find one, still can't find one. The second time was that jar that I'm sure you saw around the side there with the sign that has the money in it, now says it's my wallet, so that the law enforcement officers are not confused. The other law enforcement officer said that panhandling is illegal in the park. And I said, officer, my asking for assistance is protected under Amendment 9. All of those other rights that the people have been exercising long before these unconstitutional laws were passed. Would you mind coming back with a ticket and the Constitution that says you have the authority to even enforce this law? She came back and arrested me. I spent 3 days and 2 nights in jail waiting for that arraignment that was supposed to happen on Monday. But they released me from jail with the arrest on my record and no trial date. And this, oh yes, this is the land of the free, the home of the brave. Not. So now it becomes my duty to prove that the government was wrong and that I was innocent, where ordinarily in the United States of America, in an honest judicial system, it would be the government's job to prove that I actually committed a crime and that they had constitutional authority to enforce that law, but they don't. The grievance from 1776 against tyranny. I don't know how much more time you got or anything else, but I'll just kind of wind up with this before you ask your next question or your last question, is that the grievance against King George and tyranny was for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. In the United States of America now, not only do they deny the benefits of trial by jury, they deny the benefits of any trial whatsoever in many cases, which makes our government now King George on steroids. Because at that point in 1776, it was like a 3% tax, and now we're well over the 30%. Anyway, I said I was going to end.
Yeah. And what is your biggest fear in that?
In what? I don't.
You don't fear anything?
I don't find the need to fear anything. I've been arrested for many cases, and I have come close to death a couple of times in my life, mostly because of my own stupid mistakes and that sort of stuff. But the roughest time I've had was whenever a police officer comes up and tell me, this is for your own good, this is for your own safety. That's when I have been injured the most, physically injured the most.
Do you believe in something?
That this exists. It only exists to the point that we understand it exists. Some people have said that this is all a computer holodeck imaging, and I can't prove it isn't. Some people have said that if you travel far enough in any direction, you will find an ice wall that's impenetrable, and that there's a dome, and all of the moon landings are fake. I can't prove them wrong, and I can't prove them right. I haven't traveled far enough in any distance yet. Do I believe in any gods? No. To me, the gods don't exist. I do not worship any in my life, and I don't accept anything as a god in my life. But I do recognize that if somebody else claims that they worship a god, that God is real to them, but not to me. Other than that, I don't know how much more I can detail belief in anything. I know that if the people of these United States of America wake up and actually start to study the Declaration and the Constitution for the documents they are, we can actually take control of our government before December 25th of this year. That's my goal.
So you're going to vote? Are you allowed to vote after being in jail?
Oh, yeah. I don't register anymore because first, before I re-register, I need to educate the entire population about how our votes are supposed to be counted. And then, once our votes are counted properly. Because in the United States of America, most people don't realize it, but every registered voter votes in the United States of America. We're taught to believe that those 60 to 80% of registered voters who do not go to the polling station have not voted, when in fact, in accord with the terms of the Declaration, they have not consented to anything on the ballot, and that is a valid, countable vote in the United States of America. So when we, the people, decide that we are going to educate ourselves with respect to how we're supposed to control the government, instead of letting the government disinform us about how we're supposed to blindly obey our government's orders, then maybe this will become the land of the free, because we will be brave enough to defend our country against our own government.
So what is the truth in all of that? What is your truth?
My truth? I guess when it comes to the truth of anything, if anybody wants to know the truth of anything, the seeker of that truth must accept the probable fact that some, and possibly everything they know on a subject, is wrong. And start from square one, because if you already accept that what you know is the truth, there's no need for you to look for the truth. But if you look for the truth, it's a lot easier to recognize new bits of information that you've overlooked, because now you're not comparing it against anything else. Any preconceived notions, they all go out the window, because you've accepted that some of those are probably already wrong. And it's a lot easier to find the truth when you start off from the footsteps that everything you know is possibly wrong. It's not a very comforting feeling for the first time, but it's very liberating to learn how wrong you've been in the past.
Well,
don't know if that's what you were looking for.
Do you allow me to post this on social media?
Oh yeah. Okay. I've had people ask me that, and some of them have cut it up pretty bad and everything else, so I can't control how you're going to do it, or whether it's going to be in its entirety, or whether you're going to cut and paste various parts of it out, but yeah, you have my permission.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.